Hey guys, the topic of this video is going to be storytelling. So I want you to think for a second, what do you think storytelling is? Because the answer is a little bit bigger than you might think. You might think storytelling is when someone reads me a book, and that's true. If a loved one or a friend, or even if you read to yourself a book, that is accessing a story. But storytelling can be so much more than that. Storytelling can be watching a movie like Scooby-Doo, or a TV show, or something on Netflix. But storytelling can also be shared in person by relatives, by friends. My grandmother used to love to tell me stories. Some of them were made up and some of them were true. Some of them were from her life and some of them were about her kids, or about her parents, or about me when I was even littler. But the important thing about storytelling is that it connects people. So I want to share a story of when I was a little kid that my mom reminded me of this past Mother's Day when I was talking to her. Now, when I was about 4 years old, my mom was throwing a birthday party for, I think, my sister. And we had my grandparents over and my aunts and my uncles over. And my mom was busy cooking all morning. So she's in the kitchen cooking, getting ready, prepping. And then people start to arrive. My grandma gets there, my grandpa arrives, my aunts and uncles start showing up. And my mom had made this beautiful strawberry pie. I don't know if you guys have ever had strawberry pie, but I love strawberry pie. And to make it, it's not super complicated, but it takes about an hour. And you have to wash your strawberries and cut them into small enough pieces, and then you simmer them with sugar and either like gelatin or cornstarch and other ingredients. And you have to cook it, and then you have to cool it, and you have to make the pie crust. So she was doing all of this, and I was watching her, and she was working in the kitchen. And finally she's done, and I get to see this pie, and it's so beautiful. And she takes it out of the oven, and she puts it on the table. And my grandma comes over, and my aunt comes over, my older sister, and they're all looking at this pie. And I was short enough that I couldn't see over the edge of the table. So I was trying to look over the table and see this pie that my mom had made that everyone was oohing and awing over. And so I crawled up onto a chair and I pushed myself up on the table so that I could see it. And when I looked at it, it was beautiful. And I was looking at it and everyone was talking, and then all of a sudden, achoo! I sneezed right on the pie. And my mom looked at my aunt and my grandma, and they all were just like, oh my goodness, Hope just sneezed all over this pie. And they were laughing about it because it was so silly, but my mom was sitting there thinking, what are we going to do? Am I going to throw it away? Are we going to eat it? And I was just sitting there looking around, not realizing what had happened, that I had just gotten my little kid germs all over this pie. And that's a story that my mom loves to tell to pretty much anybody who will listen to it. And it's kind of embarrassing, but I was just a little kid, and kids do things that happen sometimes. But that's one of her favorite stories to tell because it's a silly story, it's a funny story, and it's one that she'll probably remember forever. And stories are so important to my family, and I'm sure they're important to your family too. I would encourage you to ask your parents or your uncles, aunts, grandparents if you talk to them on the phone. Ask someone in your family if they can remember a story about you when you were really little, maybe when you were 1 year old or 2 years old or something like that. Or if they can tell you a story from when they were a kid. My dad also has a really funny story from when he was a kid, where he took all these steaks that my grandma had bought and he took them out of the fridge. They were in there for a party. They were going to be cooked and used for a party. And he saw all those steaks in there when he was a kid, and he decided to feed them all to his dog Max. And my grandma loves to tell that story too, because my dad wasted all these steaks. There was like 8 steaks that he fed to this dog Max, who was very excited to get a nice tasty snack. But stories are a really fun way to connect with your family, and storytelling is one of my favorite ways to stay connected with my family, especially during a time like now when we can't always see people as often as we want to. So that's all I have for today, but I'll be checking in next week with another topic. See you later, guys.